Hi everyone, welcome back to No Sugar with Everything Krause. Second time's a charm. Yes.
Second time a charm.
This is our second time recording this episode. I hate to address the negative, but if you are listening to this the day it drops, that's why it's a little bit later. We recorded yesterday, like bright and early, like literally woke up early, got ready, did the podcast, and I had to go right to like class and then right to physical therapy. So I didn't know this until I got home at like 3 o'clock that the file was encrypted and just could not recover it. Like I tried so many different things and I am not tech savvy in that way to really know like what the heck was going on, but could not recover the audio. Was basically non-existent. Said it was like 0 seconds on my computer and I was just like, please no. Like I was like, okay.
I know.
Like there's just
Which I like hate, just for our audience to hear. It's not that I hate when we lose our recording because, we have to do it again. I hate it because it's always our first go around and I feel like we speak so authentically. Like Kateri and I really try to keep it a conversation. We try not to plan and really just have like a frame so that the conversation can flow. And sometimes when we re-record, I feel like I already know what you're going to say, so I don't have as much of initial reaction.
There's like pros and cons to it. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, now I can be like maybe a little bit more concise with my words, but then like you said, exactly, it's like, are we,
Yeah.
it feels
So
weird
anyway,
repeating the same thing when we already had the conversation, like full on conversation together. So
I
it
know.
is
I
what
hope
it
that doesn't
is.
trip us up where we feel like we already said something.
Listen, it is what it is. It's happened to us before, and there was literally no time to kind of re-record it yesterday. And at that point, I was like, we're just going to be rushing to get something out. And then that feels almost worse to me. Like I'd rather just push it off a couple hours on Tuesday than try and rush something and hate the outcome and be editing until midnight just for a worse podcast almost.
This is also like something else I just want to say because I still thought it was funny, Kateri. This is also the way of podcasting. I think every podcaster has these moments where they record and it gets messed up, it doesn't release. Because I was just looking on Instagram and one of the people we follow on Everything Krause, she's like another girl, kind of like at the same growth as ours. She has a podcast too, very aligned with us, and I actually don't know the name of it. Maybe we can plug it in this if you guys want to listen to another one. But she posted today, guys, episode is going to be delayed. My audio is all messed up. Like I have to re-record. And I just started laughing because I was like, this is everyone. I know everyone's like, oh my God.
No, literally, there's nothing worse either because like you think everything's okay. Like on our little Zoom box we use, the minutes were going, like it showed that it was recording fine. You could hear our audio levels and everything or visualize it. And then Izzle went back down to Cape May. I was home. I plugged it in and I'm trying to import it and it's just like nothing working. I texted Izzle and was like, audio's not working. Like there is no way of knowing it until you go to edit it. And at that point we just had like kind of a hectic day yesterday of not being able, it was, so it's, it is what it is. I'm not
To throw
like
the cherry on top, I packed all my podcast gear because I was like, let's get ahead of the game and bulk record this week. Guess what I forgot? My podcast gear.
Yeah, Izzle calls me. He's like, I can't find it. Did Dad not unpack it from the car? And I'm like, no, there's nothing in the car. I'm like, this girl, it's in her room. It's gotta be. And it was in her room. But like,
I don't know how I forgot it. It was like the first, that's why I forgot it was the first thing I packed. I was like, I can't forget that. I'm going to pack that right now.
Yeah, it is what it is. We're just going with the flow. But anyway, let's just get kind of right into episode round 2 of it. So today is kind of like what feels in my mind like an overdue update on my ACL journey. Last week we talked about Isabel, so this week it's my turn to update you guys. And because my ACL journey is literally my new personality, this is like the only updates I have for you. So for those of you who are new or just kind of like tuning in or haven't really heard any updates at all, I tore my ACL and medial meniscus skiing with my family in February, so at the end of February, and then I had surgery March 25th to reconstruct my ACL to fix that meniscus tear, and I've been recovering ever since. So we are over 2 months post-surgery. Obviously, it's June 10th now, so we are almost 2.5 months out from surgery, which is wild to think about that it's been that long because it hasn't really felt that long, but obviously then like looking back at the same time, it has felt really long.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to kind of really like talk about it because in the beginning of this, I knew that it was obviously physically going to be a massive challenge for me to go through something like this. And just I knew that recovery was going to be long and difficult, not from experience, just from what I was reading online. It is a very long recovery process, this specific injury. but really wasn't prepared for anything else in terms of like mental aspect of it. And I do think it is more, for me at least, it is more mentally demanding than it is physically demanding for myself. I think I'm at the point in my life, and you guys know we're so into fitness. Fitness is a massive part of our life. So I am used to being uncomfortable. I'm used to like pushing myself and sweating and feeling sore and all of this stuff, right? Like I'm used to kind of a physical push. So I don't feel like I was really mentally prepared for something like this, but I don't think that you can mentally prepare. I don't think. It's not like
like you
like
never
kept,
you
like
never are
kept saying
planning.
that. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
go
you're
ahead.
never like thinking like, oh, I'm gonna be injured next year. Let me start
Exactly.
mentally prepping. Like you just get injured and you're like, wait, what? Like I
Well,
feel like
and
this injury.
even
Go ahead.
leading up to surgery, it was like I knew people were saying like make sure you take care of your mental health, but it's like, well, what does that mean? You don't really know
Yeah.
until you're in maybe like the mental struggle. Even after surgery, it's like, oh, well, I'm still feeling good right now. It's like, when is it gonna hit? And so you don't want to like focus on that, but it's people always talk about it. And now, almost 2.5 months out, I'm like, okay, now I like get why people say that so much.
Yeah.
And I think that just goes to say for any sort of injury at all, in terms of whether you're an athlete and you're playing in high school or college, or you're a skier and you got injured, or you're just someone who's into fitness and physically fit and you have an injury, whether it's minor or severe, an injury can feel almost like the end of your world at the time. And although it's not permanent and forever, it's so hard to not get like so doom and gloom about it and feel like so bad about it. And I talked about this when I had first had the injury in the fall. We kind of updated you guys about it. It was before I even had my MRI results back. And in those moments, I was kind of freaking out a little bit because, as you guys know, personally, fitness feels like it's my life, but also professionally, I'm a fitness instructor. I'm a personal trainer. It is like my other business is teaching classes and, promoting myself on Instagram, coming out with programs. Like you guys know, I have 2 programs out. I had all these things planned for the rest of spring and spring programs, and then going into summer, and Isabel and I were planning fitness events almost. And it was like a lot of it, as weird as it sounds, was planned around me as like the personal trainer, as like the forefront of all of that. And it was kind of like a giant slap in the face to put all of that on hold and be like, that income that is almost like my steady income is being cut off. Because Isabel and I will always be transparent about this. And if anyone listening is an influencer or works with brands or knows what it's like to get paid by a brand, you don't like post a reel and they Venmo you your money. It's like, post the reel, you'll get paid maybe 30 days, maybe 60 days, maybe 90 days. And it's not like a upfront payment right away. It's like you have to kind of wait for it. So during all of this, we kind of like kicked in the brand deals a little bit more, but it's like we're still sitting on that money waiting for a lot of it. Like I know one brand that we worked with in February, we're still the payment is still in its holding place waiting to get the final approval to go to our bank account. It's like, bro, it's not that much money. Like, can you just approve this? Like, we're not talking about 20 grand here. Like,
it's so crazy. It's really ridiculous, like how long it takes to see the money. So it's one thing that I will say, if you are getting into the content creation space or influencing or doing UGC, whatever it is, if you are going to rely on it as your payment, make sure you are planning out like, okay, I'm going to get paid 3 months from that. I always say like give 3 months buffer, like build out your brand deals with 3 months buffer of room for pay. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it does. And you kind of like have to do that. But anyway,
kind of like that February deal we accounted for, we were like, that's our, okay, June we have like a 5K month so far. That's like how we look at it.
Yeah, exactly. So it can, that I'm just like prefacing it with all of that because that even put like a more, toll, I feel like, on me mentally of like this, like, oh my goodness, I'm not making money and I have all these bills now coming in, medical expenses, and it's like, how am I supposed to pay for these when my income is shut off and I don't have a regular job where I can get workers' comp or where I can get like unemployment? It's just not how it works. And what I'm doing, and being self-employed is a blessing and a curse in this moment. So I'm so grateful that I had the flexibility with the studios where I teach and everything, and everyone has been, amazing, but they're not going to pay me for not being there. Obviously, I get paid per class. So that's just a whole thing in itself. But I kind of want to go back to like the very start from the injury and surgery and everything like that. And then
Yeah, I want you to talk about, just because I don't think anyone knows, the last time we talked about this, it was when we did an episode when we like didn't know what your diagnosis was, and then I think we briefly mentioned like you tore your ACL.
Yeah.
But I would love for you to talk about what surgery you ended up going with, just because
Yeah.
there's different ACL surgeries, so people kind of like understand your rehab a bit better, and also like what you're working on today.
Yeah, 100%. So kind of going back to the start, like I said, I had surgery on March 25th. Before then, when I found out I tore my ACL, the first surgeon that I had met with, the surgery he planned for me was a patellar tendon graft and May 1st surgery. So obviously from February 25th to May 1st, giant gap, giant like wait time in terms of when I would have my surgery. And in my mind, I was like, that is so far away. In hindsight, it is a little bit more common in this injury to have like a decent gap in between your actual injury date and your surgery date, because they want you to be able to get that full range of motion back and kind of build as much strength as you can before surgery. But that to me was like a huge gap. And I was just thinking about like going into summer and being really in recovery, and like the entire summer I just was like, mentally that's going to mess me up more. Like I do not want to be still like in the thick of recovery come May, you know what I mean? So it was I was just like, there's too much going on in general. So it wasn't the only reason that I ended up getting a second opinion, but that was like one of the things. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because I was scared at first to get a second opinion. I felt like when I met with the first surgeon, like I had to go with him. He was very highly recommended. He's an amazing surgeon. Nothing wrong with him and his skill. He works with so many like professional athletes and things like that. But go ahead.
You like tell them this story of like what happened. They kind of like solve your injury and like start planning the surgery. Yeah. So it kind of feels like when you get like the first opinion, it kind of feels like you're working with them already. Like it doesn't feel like you can go get a second opinion.
Yeah, no, it's not like this is what I would do. Like if you're gonna look around, like let me know. It's like, nope, I literally left my appointment after going over my MRI results with him, left booking my surgery at that place, my follow-up appointment, everything, like booked my first follow-up appointment after surgery with him, like all these things. Also, where that surgery was like 50 minutes from our house, so not really ideal anyway in terms of like his office and doing all these follow-up appointments with him. Not ideal in the slightest. So there was a number of things that went into it. In my gut, it didn't feel like the right place for me to go, in all honesty. And when I started talking to more people who were just in the medical field in general or just have been through this process, everyone was like, you need to get a second opinion. It's okay to shop around for your surgeon. So I'm just saying that for anyone who is going through anything medically, whether it's just like a doctor's visit or something, it's okay to shop around and find someone that you feel more comfortable with. I wasn't really feeling that great with the first surgeon. I felt like he was just kind of speaking to me and wasn't understanding of like the emotional aspect of this. And I remember when he told me I tore my ACL, it was just like breezed over. Like it was me and my dad were standing there, we're looking at my MRI, and he's like, yep, as you can see, like complete rupture of the ACL, blah 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 blah, let's go in the other room and discuss. And I was like, what the heck did you just say to me? Last time I was in, you were almost convinced it wasn't my ACL, so what is going on? Like it was just like kind of a whirlwind. So I ended up getting a second opinion, and immediately when I met with the surgeon, she broke down she obviously asked, she knew it was my second opinion too, because she was like, has someone gone over these results with you? So it was less of like reviewing the MRI and more of like, let me tell you what I do in surgery and how I would approach this and when I'm going to operate on you. So she took out pen and paper and started drawing out exactly, in very, very layman's terms, like a kitty picture, what it was going to look like when she operated on my knee and what she does. So she specializes in the quad tendon graft. And a little added element to it, she does this LET portion, which pulls from your ITB band, which is like almost like the outer portion of like on the lateral side. So the outer side of your leg close to your knee, in between like your kneecap and say like your quad, if that makes sense. Like I have an incision on the side of my leg. That was a very roundabout way of saying that. Anyway, so she kind of broke down exactly why she does the quad tendon, exactly why she does this LET, the internal suture she does on the quad to make it a little bit stronger and everything like that. And I just really appreciated her breaking down everything for me and also telling me like, you have an option here. You can figure out if you want to go with me and the quad tendon, you can do the patellar tendon with him. Like, this isn't me telling you this. I'm just giving you all the options so that you know exactly why I do this and what your options are moving forward. At that point, my range of motion was almost perfect, I would say, going back to her. And I was back to doing like squats. I was doing some lunges. I had a full range of motion pulling my foot in, full extension. So I like was ready to go in my mind for surgery. And I remember the first surgeon telling me, you will almost question why the heck am I getting surgery going into it. So I knew that like going into my appointment with her, I was like, she might tell me like I'm ready to operate on. And that's exactly what she did. She was like, she pulls out her calendar. Me and mom are sitting there and she's like, I have an appointment on availability on Monday or Tuesday. Which one do you want to do? And me and mom were like,
and what day was this?
It was literally a week before. It went from being like, I thought I had months to there's a week between now and surgery. Like, you have 1 week before surgery. So that was just like a crazy turnaround, but I was also like really happy to hear that. Anyway, between like the graft things, if you are unfamiliar or if you're going through this, or you know someone going through this, for your ACL, it is not something that can be regrown. You have to literally reconstruct it, which is why it's called ACL reconstruction. So that is why they pull from another area of your body. So they'll pull from your quad, your patellar tendon, which is right behind your kneecap, or your hamstring, or if you're a little bit older, they pull from a cadaver, which is kind of crazy because that's a dead body. So I ended up going with the quad tendon. A little bit longer and harder of a recovery. I knew that going into it, but some of the...
Why did you choose that?
Well, some of the negatives that she was explaining to me about the patellar tendon, and that is something that she used to do before she switched. It's just a little bit more old school, and a lot of people after that surgery have knee pain, like kneeling on their knees, and just experience, like tendinitis a little bit more. When she told me like kneeling on your knees, a lot of people have a lot of discomfort and like don't like to do it anymore. It was an immediate no for me because as a fitness instructor, Pilates, yoga, sculpt, all of it, like I'm on my knees a lot. Like,
my gosh,
she said that and I was like, oh, you just kind of solidified why I'm going with you all off of that. And she even said, she's like, as silly as it sounds, I do have a lot of Muslims who I operate on, and they pray on their knees. So when I was doing the patellar tendon, I had one come back to me and complain of the knee pain that they were feeling, and it was because of the patellar tendon. So moving forward, I started looking at other options, but then she was like, whenever I have a Muslim patient, I always explain these options to them, and because of the being on your knees a lot in prayer, they're all like 100% I want to go. I do not want to go patellar tendon because it just it means so much to them, and I can totally understand that. So that was kind of like one of the biggest reasons for me. And also I just liked her method a lot. The whole LET incision on the side, and what that does, it brings a whole different level of stability to your knee after surgery and moving forward, and it lowers your re-tear rate from 11 to 2%, which is
crazy. For anyone who doesn't know, like that is insane amount of dropping percentage, because the 11% is a high re-tear rate. Like, it's very possible.
She could have said 2% lower and I still would have been like, okay, because unfortunately you tear your ACL once, you are more prone to tearing it again, and the percentage of tearing it in your other knee actually goes up, which is wild, just because your other knee begins to compensate a little bit more during those activities. So obviously I'm working on strengthening my right knee a lot as well right now. But her just telling me that percentage, I was like, yeah, no, this is like no doubt in my mind. But that's kind of how I made those decisions. Again, it happened really quick from the time of meeting with her to surgery. So there wasn't a lot of time to think about it, but I kind of knew in my gut, like, this is where you should go. And it all worked out because she recommended me to my physical therapist, and I'll get into him. Absolutely love him. Couldn't be more grateful that I was connected with him. And I truly think that God placed Dr. Hamoud, my surgeon, and Mike, my physical therapist, in my life at this time for a reason, like, truly. So I think that is just an important note to make about like the pre-surgery options and what it looks like. Obviously, I knew none of it going into it, and you don't really know until you're like making these big decisions for yourself.
Okay, so now you obviously like received your options. You're getting ready for surgery a lot quicker than you thought you were. What was like your biggest fear going into surgery? Because I'm not sure if we've mentioned this. I don't think we did, but like, I've never been in a hospital. I've never been injured.
Neither.
Literally, I came out of the womb. That was the only time I've ever been in the hospital. Thank you, God. I appreciate my health so much. But I always think like, if I were to get surgery, I would be so scared because I don't know what it would be like at all. So I imagine you kind of felt the same too.
Oh my gosh, I was almost like freaking out. Like I just couldn't
Yeah.
stop thinking about it in all honesty. And I think the biggest thing like I was scared of was the pain I was going to feel after surgery because I know they say not to do it, but like I was on TikTok, there's a world of ACL recovery and people on TikTok. So everyone just kept talking about the pain after surgery and like the first 2 to 3 days after. Make sure you take your painkillers if you need them, like they're there for a reason, all this stuff. And I'm like, wow, like how bad is this pain gonna be? I can't really fathom what it's gonna feel like because the only pain I had felt leading up to surgery was the night that the day that I tore my ACL, that night in like the middle of the night, I woke up crying in severe pain. I think I described it before, but it was like a blowtorch and a knife were jabbing into the center of my knee, and I literally couldn't believe what was happening. Like that was the only time I was like, whoa, maybe this is my ACL, because that was an insane feeling.
Yeah.
Even during the fall, it hurt, but it was just more like, whoa, something is
Uncomfortable.
wrong. Yeah, it wasn't
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, I need to get inside it. Someone needs to help me down this mountain in so much pain. So in my mind, I was just like, I don't even know what this is going to look like after. Like, what do these people mean? So I was very nervous about that. And then just in surgery in general, like you said, like I've never had anything like this. I've never really been in the hospital before. I've never been under anesthesia. Like, all of it was just so nerve wracking to me. And the day of the surgery, like in the hospital room, when I was in the bed, they were like, we're, taking my vitals, doing all this stuff. Mom and dad were in the room with me. And then as soon as they left is when they started like the first round of anesthesia and the nerve block. So I had actually spoken with the anesthesiologist and my surgeon about the type of nerve block that they do, which they are publishing papers on their nerve block because of the massive success that they have seen with it in terms of patients who get this nerve block. I think it was like less than 1% end up taking the painkillers, which is wild. Like not like Tylenol, because you actually are supposed to take the Tylenol, but I'm talking about like hardcore painkillers, like things you get addicted to.
Well, that's why I love it too, because this opioid crisis that we have in our country is literally because the number one leading cause is these painkillers from the hospitals.
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
extremely addictive, especially when they heal like severe knee pain that people are going through. Like they just want that healed every single day.
Exactly.
So
And
I was so happy that you got the nerve block.
yeah, like I really didn't want to have to take them. Obviously, like they say, if your pain is anywhere from like an 8 to 10 on, a 1 to 10 scale, okay, you can take the painkillers, but they really hammer home, even like the anesthesiologist, the surgeon, everyone was like, only if your pain is from an 8 to 10. If you're like, I can get through this, give me some Tylenol, do not take them. Like they were so just like really making a point about that, which I was happy with. So anyway,
Yeah.
mom and dad left the room. I start like my muscles tremoring, like I'm just like I have the shakes, like I am freaking out. I'm like, I can't believe this right now. So then they come in to issue the first round of anesthesia. As he describes it to me, the anesthesiologist, he's like, it's gonna feel like you've had a couple glasses of wine. When I tell you, the second that shit hit my IV drip, I felt like they put it in, they lower me down in the bed and start like raising me up so he can be like right over top of my knee. I felt like I was being raised up to heaven. I'm not kidding. And this was a second after they issued it. It was wild. I was
Like Lazarus.
no, literally. I was like this one, I was like grateful for it because it calmed down my body. And I was like, how are they going to issue this nerve block in my knee when I'm like shaking? So I was grateful because it completely calmed me down. And then the nerve block is like your knee has multiple nerves, so they had to go in multiple places. It's not like, if you go to the dentist, they numb your mouth, it numbs the entire thing. Like one spot numbs the entire thing. Your knee has like multiple different spots. So they put like almost, what's it called? When you're pregnant and you go get your belly checked. Gel. It's a gel. Oh my gosh. Ultrasound. Thank you. Oh my goodness. I could not think of it. So they almost are doing like an ultrasound on your knee to find the right places. They do the nerve block. It's like a tiny little pinch and that's all you feel. And then I was like in the room chilling, waiting to go into surgery. And I was like in and out of like dreaming. I'm like, am I in real life? Like what is happening to me? I have no idea what happened from the time that happened to, I remember being wheeled into where I was going to be operated on and like seeing the nurse who like put the needle in my hand for the IV drip and just like smiling at her and then continuing to go by. And then the last thing I really remember is just like the big lights in the operating room. Like literally, I feel like that's all I remember. It's so weird. I wish I remembered a little bit more, but they probably do that on purpose.
I don't know why I'm finding this so funny. I just can picture you like go. I just can't believe that you were going through this experience. Like mom and dad weren't there, and you were just like loopy AF.
Yeah, like
sitting there being like, "What the hell is going on?"
And I feel like the last thing I remember is like the big lights, and then I feel like I remember like seeing other people in the operating room, like not my surgeon yet, and.
So you saw the operating room?
For like a second, I'm telling you, all I can think in my mind is like the giant lights that were like on me.
So Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, no, that's all I
so
remember.
Grey's. I feel like they always show like the lights flashing.
And like I don't remember like the last little bit of anesthesia, like none of that. I feel like, and maybe I probably do, but physically I don't remember it because it kind of just like knocks out your memory a little bit more. So next thing I know, I wake up. Mom and dad are there. I'm like, oh my gosh, I did it. They asked me if I want something to drink. I asked for water. They're like, you need like more like. We have apple juice or like soda or something. I was like, okay, I'll have the apple juice. Chug the freaking Mott's apple juice. And then they
take it while you can.
Then they gave me pretzels and I ate one. It was like the driest thing in my mouth. I was like, oh my God, awful. Mom and dad come in. They have my clothes. I'm like all changed. My knee bracelet, like everything is on. Obviously, they like wrap you all up in surgery. And then, I get home and it's like I want to say like the first 2 days after surgery, I was just like still out of it. Like I feel like I was still out of it. And then like the first 2 weeks of surgery, after surgery, it's kind of just like really just trying to get by. Like you're still figuring things out. I needed help going to the bathroom. I needed help showering. I needed help going up the stairs, getting in bed. Like everything was almost an ordeal. It was like, make sure you're taking your Tylenol every 6 hours. So it was almost like I was very dependent on the people around me, as Isabel knows. And in those moments, I started going to physical therapy. I just was like, I had a doctor's appointment, follow up with the surgeon. Like everything is kind of happening really quickly. So like the first 2 weeks are almost a blur. It just, they go by really quick and you think you have like all this time to relax and chill, but it's like before you know it, you're just like busy with either physical therapy, follow-up appointments, making sure you're staying on top of your meds, eating, drinking, getting a good night's sleep. It's just kind of like a lot all at once. But I remember like in those moments, just trying to remind myself to like appreciate the little wins every single day and like what how I'm progressing. And I started going to physical therapy. So my surgery was on a Tuesday. I went to physical therapy on Friday morning, and they really want you to get into physical therapy very quickly because if not, you almost get like really scared to move your body and like move your leg at all. And then it creates more stiffness and that can lead to scar tissue, which scar tissue will actually block your progress and you will not be able to like bend or strain your leg past a certain point. So that is why they want you in there so quick, to almost show you like you are not broken. You can move your leg, you know, not your full range of motion yet, but you can move your leg. So I remember like after my first appointment, I was really nervous going to physical therapy just because I was very scared of, again, the pain. The pain is what was so scary to me. Of like the future pain, what it was going to feel like. And if I would be able to handle it, I feel like I've never been put in a position to be like, can I handle immense amounts of pain?
And the thing about surgeries though too, Kateri, is like when you say like you were scared of the pain, you really like, I want to paint the picture for you guys. Like imagine someone cutting into your leg, taking a knife and then taking a piece of that quad out, right? Like that's not like, Kateri explained it to me like that because I was like, what do you mean like it's going to be painful? Like it's an incision inside of your body, inside of your muscle. It's not just like, oh, I'm sore the next day. Like it's a cut. And I feel like when I thought about that, I like pictured my quad being cut into and I was like, yeah, that must hurt. That's more than a soreness.
Exactly.
So I just wanted to, I don't know. That helped me envision it.
Well, and I got to give a lot of credit to that nerve block that I did get because I didn't really experience mass amounts of pain after surgery in those first couple days. Like, I feel like I always say the highest I rated my pain was maybe like a 3 on that pain scale. And it was never to the point where I was, crying in pain, where I was overwhelmed with the pain. It was more so just a lot of discomfort. And I kept getting these like muscle tremors, which is very common, especially because of the quad graft, where like my quad would start like twitching almost and I couldn't control it. So it was twitching to the point where it was hurting me because I was, my quad wasn't firing, it wasn't working. So to like do that quick movement was obviously painful, but it wasn't to the point where I was like, oh my gosh, ow, like I need help right now. But anyway, like going into physical therapy, is very scary, but I think finding the right physical therapist is so important. And it's hard because there are so many places around. Like, if now all I see is physical therapist office, because it's like I drive by and they're literally on every corner. So finding someone is very hard. I had gotten a recommendation from my surgeon. She sent everyone to Ivy Rehab, where I go and I see Mike, and he just works a lot with the surgeon. A lot of the patients, you know, they kind of recommend each other, which was great. So I was like, if she's recommending him, it's for a reason. So I'm definitely going to try and do this. And like I said in the beginning, I truly believe that God led me to him because we just match so well in terms of our beliefs on what I'm going through. And and I will never forget this. One of the first things I said to him when I met him was, my goal leaving here is bulletproof knees. Like, this is not going to happen to me again. I refuse to let it happen to me again. And he said, wrong. It's a bulletproof body. I don't want to ever see you in here ever again for anything, not just your knees. You need to have a bulletproof body. Everyone needs to focus on having a bulletproof body. And I was just like, wow, like, he gets it. This isn't just my left knee. This is an entire body fix right now.
Yeah.
And I feel like I just really appreciated that approach because, you know, some people, and he even explains it, like, you'll see a physical therapist and they're just there to go through the motions, go through the exercises, and then say goodbye, and not go the extra mile to get you to where you need to be, to make sure that your form is good in your squats, that you're actually, you know, you're holding your plank, you're not using your lower back. Well, it's like, what does a plank have to do with your left knee? Well, it means everything, because your spine is in control so much of your entire body. So making sure just everything is aligned and working. And another first thing that he said to me, and as well was there for it, was like, nutrition, hydration need to be on point. And the appointment that Isabel came with me was my second appointment. So like, the first one was more of an evaluation. Second one, we were actually like starting the exercises more. I had eaten a steak and eggs for breakfast, and he was like, what'd you eat for breakfast today? I'm like, steak and eggs. He's like, is everyone else hearing this? Like, you need to start talking to the high schoolers who are in here who are eating Cheerios for breakfast and coming in and wondering why they can't make it through like this hour session. So
he literally said to Kateri, like, he loved you too, because I think he looked at Kateri and was like, you are going to be my ideal patient for, like, with proper nutrition, with hard work, discipline, and like willing to be uncomfortable. This is what true rehab looks like. Like, this is how well you can bring your body back. And I feel like he saw you and was like, this girl is like perfect for this. Like, she's going to be a killer in this rehab.
Well, because it's a lot of going through rehab is, like you were just mentioned, it's a lot of getting comfortable being uncomfortable. And from day one, I made it known to him, I want you to push me past the points of my comfort level. I do not want to be babied in here. Like, I need to be pushed physically and mentally, and I'm okay with that. And I think he got that vibe from me pretty quickly, that, you know, like, I'm here to work. When I'm here in these 2-hour-long sessions, I want to be put to work. I don't want my little like winces or anything to stop you. Like, keep going. If it hurts me, push past that pain. Like, keep going. And if like, one of the biggest lessons I've learned in this, which again, I feel like I had a little bit of it, but I've learned more about myself, and more so am now even more comfortable with that discomfort, because even in the beginning, it's not as uncomfortable. When it gets uncomfortable is when, you know, my surgeon cleared me to bend past 90 degrees. So he starts bending past 90 degrees. And let me tell you, that was like, whew, hold my breath. Oh my goodness, I can't believe that's what it felt like. You know, like, leading up to that point, I was like, all right, it's a little painful, it's not too bad. As soon as he started bending past 90, I literally was like, I like almost like had to like punch him out of reaction, you know? And he's like, sometimes I'm scared people are going to punch me in the face. So it was in those moments that I was even like talking myself through it, because he would like be like, all right, 5 more seconds, hold it here, 3, you can do this, 2, 1, all right, release. That I would literally be talking to myself, being like, you can do this, you can do hard things, like, this is only going to make it better. And then that tiny bit of pain that you feel for like such a small portion of this recovery truly does make a world of difference, because the next time I was there, he did it, it hurt way less, let me tell you. Then the next time I got 5 degrees more in my bend, and it was like, okay, so you need to go through the pain to get to the other side. I mean, obviously that, like, no duh, but it's like, in the moment, you don't realize how quickly that can progress you just by letting him bend it a little bit more. Just by saying,
like, it's
go.
not that pain every single time he bends it.
Yeah.
It's a one-time experience for a leap in your journey of recovery.
Exactly. And him asking me, like, do you want to go one more time, and saying yes to it. Like, I'm always like, if you tell me to do something, if you give me the option, we're going. Like, unless you're like, no, like, enough is enough. Like, he's like, you want to go one more time? I'm like, bend it one more time. Like, I need to, my leg it's got to get there in that range of motion. And I think that also,
I will say, go ahead.
I was just going to say that also, like, equated to me coming home and doing PT on my own, like a lot of heel slides in terms of the bending. It was like, it was really uncomfortable. You don't ever kind of put yourself in that mass amount of pain that you feel in PT, only because it's harder to inflict that amount of pain on you and also like get that angle to bend it that much. But it made it easier for me at home to be like, that discomfort you're feeling isn't telling you stop. It's telling you to keep going. And the more I did, like when I first started doing heel slides after surgery, which I've posted this on Instagram, I could barely bend my knee, and I was like, I hate these things. I hate trying to bend my leg in more. I'm never going to be able to do this. But I still showed up every single day for at least 10 heel slides. I did them every single day, no matter what, because they were my least favorite things. So I knew that I had to do it, and I knew that when I did them and I went to physical therapy, I was getting a little bit further in that bending. So I was like, it's working. You just have to put in the work to do it. Like, you really do. It's just, unfortunately, you can't miss a day of it.
No, literally. It's like the consistency of doing it is what builds that motion for your knee to get used to.
Exactly. And like, all of this is now applying to my life regardless of the injury or not. Like, realizing how important consistency is again, realizing that in the discomfort is where growth happens, realizing that I am so much stronger than my mind tells me I am. Like, it is, all of these things that are happening now are learning lessons for me. It's not like it's just like a bump in the road and then I'm going to leave and not think about it. It's truly like, no, these are lessons that you will take into the rest of your life. Yeah. And I think when you flip the script in your mind to seeing the issues or seeing only the negative and the problems and how much this wasn't on my bingo card for 2025, it's like, how can we flip that script to now see the good? Let's see the positive. Yeah. What am I learning from this experience? And being able to focus on what you're learning does help you to stay motivated and stay disciplined in everything that you're doing.
Okay, now I kind of want to hear a little bit more about your mental journey. I obviously know a lot about that, but I feel like from this recording so far, like, you seem like you're in a really good headspace. Like, you're like, yeah, I'm pushing. This is what PT is for. This is happening for a reason. I'm going to learn from this. Has it always been that mindset? Like, I feel like the mental battle has been the hardest part for you, more challenging than these physical therapy appointments. Like, I'd love for you to touch on that, kind of walk through, like, maybe what were some instances that really struck up these mental emotions, etc.
Yeah, for sure. And I know I started off this episode saying, like, the mental battles are harder than the physical. So, yeah, I want to kind of dive into that. So, like I said, the first, like, 2 weeks were kind of almost like a blur. I was honestly feeling good. Like, I was celebrating, all the little wins, feeling good, like, just really focusing, okay, I can shower by myself. I made it upstairs by myself. I go to the bathroom, like, I know it sounds so silly, but, like, that's kind of what you need to do. Around the 4-week mark is, I think, when I took, like, my biggest, like, dip in how I was feeling. Like, my mental health definitely was rocked a little bit. So like I said, I got the quad tendon graft, so that, it hurts your quad a little bit more. After surgery, the biggest goal is to try and get your quad to fire again. That's, like, the words they use. Like, let's get it to fire, which means let's get it to activate and, like, wake up a little bit. Like, I would go to flex my quad and there's no movement in there, and it's just, it's crazy. And your quad is
like, picture your quad, like, dead asleep. Like, when you said that to me, I was like, oh, I understand what you're saying. Yeah. Like, you can't flex. There's no movement. It never reacts.
Yeah. So it almost is like half asleep since your injury. So it was a while, and it was hard for me to grasp that my quad still wasn't firing properly or, like, enough at the 4-week mark. So one of the things that they do to, like, get the quad to fire back again is called a short quad arc. And essentially what it looks like is they put, like, one of those, like, half foam rollers underneath your knee. I have my stimulator on my quad to help, like, stimulate the muscle. And when the stimulator comes on, you start to feel that, like, little burn, not like burning, but, like, that's what's it called, like shock sensation in your quad.
Yeah.
You're supposed to press the back of your knee down into the foam roller and your heel just lifts, right? So it's like a very simple motion. If you do it on your working legs, it's like, yeah, you, as soon as you flex that quad and press the back of your knee down into that full extension, your heel just naturally pops up. So up until 5 weeks, I couldn't do that. My quad was not doing, I could not get my heel to lift. So at the 4
And that
week,
meant, just for everyone, that meant that the connection was not established between her new ACL to be able to like work with the quad and heel to be able to have that one fluid motion.
Even
so it
just
was
like,
really important. This was like a big step
Yeah.
in your PT.
even just the mental connection, like I was trying so hard to, you know, get that mind body connection to help, because a lot of times like that's what limits that as well, is your body is really thrown off. So your quad doesn't really know to respond to what your brain is telling it to do, because it just went through like a big injury, because it just went through an operation and it's not fully intact. Your knee goes into like protection mode. So it was really frustrating for me. That's like, and I bring that up because that was just one of the things I couldn't grasp, that I couldn't do yet. And I kept focusing on not being able to do it. Like I would start off like all my PT sessions in the beginning, you know, we would massage, we would do some things, and then it was like right into that short quad arc, like let's get that heel to lift. So, you know, week 1, I'm like, okay, I can't do it yet, it's fine. Like I just operated on my quad. Of course it's not working. Week 2, okay, we'll get there. Week 3, what the heck is happening? Week 4, it's like, okay, seriously, why isn't my quad waking? What am I doing wrong? Like, what am I not doing to get it there? So I kept focusing in those moments on the lack of what I was experiencing, like what I couldn't do. And that brought me in this like dark place where I was like crying every single day, multiple times a day. I just could not grasp why I couldn't do it. And I think even in physical therapy that week, and I just like used that week as like my, you know, where I saw like my biggest downfall come in recovery, because I just remember it being like, it's been 4 weeks, you know, like 4 weeks was in my mind.
that was the first thing that I noticed, like really took an emotional toll on you. It was the first time that I saw you, and it's not that I thought you were depressed, but like I felt like the injury really got to you in a sense where like you were living almost in like a depressed state about it.
No, I think it was, you know, the closest I felt to a level of depression for sure, because it leads your mind to be thinking about like all these things, and it's like, well, what if I can't do this again? How long is it going to take? Is this now pushing back my recovery? Am I even farther out from being okay? Like, right, you start like just going through your mind of all these things that could be happening because you're not doing that. And that week in physical therapy, I think it was very visible that I was being really hard on myself, and I was really in my head just on like my demeanor and my overall, you know, like out there personality. I think it was just coming through a little bit more, and like seeing how bummed I was when, you know, my 10 reps were over and it was like, nope, my heels still didn't lift up. And it was just one of those things that I couldn't get over. And I remember like I said, I was like crying a lot that week. I just like couldn't stop crying. I just was so emotional, and I was just like in this like down place. Like it was really hard for me to be like happy in those moments almost. And
wait, I also want to add before you go into like the next thing that I know you're going to talk about, there was a girl who in your physical therapy, like that area, who I just want you to talk on that too, because you compared yourself to her, and that comparison is a big part of the ACL journey that I think really hurts the mental health.
1,000%. I'm happy that you brought that up, because comparison is truly the thief of joy. It will take away any of the progress that you think you've made. And a girl that would sometimes, I haven't seen her in a bit, but like she would go around the same time as me. She was able to lift up her heel, and her surgery was a week after me. So I was a week ahead of her in terms of like recovery timeline. So I was like next to her on the table, not purposely, just like, you know, we had an appointment at the same time. And it was so hard to like hear her say, because of course I asked her, I'm like, can you lift your quad or your heel yet? And she's like, yeah, like she knew that I couldn't, because I was like on the table complaining about it. And you know, she was like, yeah, I can. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Like, good for you. And then in my mind, I'm like, are you kidding me? You're a personal trainer. This girl has openly told you that she doesn't work out. Like, not a hate on her or anything, but she literally was like, I remember like our first appointment, she's like, yeah, like I don't even work out. So like, I don't even know what my quad is like. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm like, you're this physically fit girl. Like you care so much. Your quad strength you thought was like the best thing about your body. And it's something that's not working. So it was like so hard because then I start comparing myself to her. Then I'm on TikTok and there's this one girl that I follow who she could do it very easily. Her surgery was like 2 days after me. So I'm like, we're like kind of lined up. But again, the girl on TikTok, she had a different surgery. She had patellar tendon. So quad's not like firing as differently as mine. Girl next to me, who knows what her body's doing. Every person is so different in this recovery. But it was really hard for me to get out of my own way in that thinking. And yeah, it's a weird, like, dark place to be in all honesty. It's just, you do feel this kind of cloud over you. And I don't know if I've said it in this recording. I think I said it in maybe the first recording that we did. But I have never really faced adversity in my life in terms of something where like my freedom or things that I had so easily in my life got taken away from me. Yeah. So, I always, I went about this and like, I asked God for strength and he gave me battles. I've never really had a battle like this where I needed to, fine tune my mental strength. So I've never had an experience like this where I did face a lot of adversity, where I needed to pull myself out of a really bad headspace. And in those moments, it was, it was hard to see outside of it. But I think one of the biggest things that helped me was obviously turning to the people around me. Like Isabel knows, her and my mom, like I would just break down in tears in front of them, and it just, unapologetically like crying, like they knew. So it was being able to turn to them in moments and them reminding me of my progress and how much they have seen me change. Also, I did take a lot of progress videos from the start to up until now. Like I'm always trying to record videos. So being able to like go back and seeing how much I could do, whether it was like heel slides or extension or things like that. Like it was, I recommend always taking, are you crying?
I'm literally tearing.
Like Isabel's crying and I'm not.
I literally started cracking up to myself right now. I was like, I wonder if Kateri will notice that I'm legit crying.
Yeah.
Because, guys, I'm getting my period next week, please. This week. Like, I literally cry at the drop of a dime right now, but also because I just put myself, I remember when Kateri, like, broke down into tears in front of me and mom, and, like, we just looked at her, and I was just filled with sadness, because I was just like, my sister, like,
I know.
wanted to hug you. So I was just flashing back to that. Anyway, continue.
And then another, like, the big things that kind of helped me, again, out of that was obviously, like, turning to prayer. As you guys know, if you know Isabel and I, our faith and our relationship with God is of the utmost importance. And in those moments, I was kind of turning away from it because I was so mad. And I was like, what am I supposed to pray about? Like, I know that people have it worse off. And that's also why I think I was avoiding prayer. It's because I was like, there are people who get paralyzed at my age, and they've had all this life to do all these things, and then all of a sudden they literally can't walk again, and it's going to be that way for a while, right? And so there's so many things that you run through your mind of like, well, this is just like a bump in the road, like this isn't something that lasts forever, so shame on me for thinking that this is like the end of the world, right? So there's a part of that goes into it, and then a part of like anger, of being like questioning like, God, why is this my plan? Because honestly, it doesn't feel like it should be my plan. I'm mad at you for making it my plan and putting it a part of my life. And I think the hardest step that I had to take was being able to surrender that anger to God in prayer, and being like, I am so mad at you, and I'm letting you know that, essentially. Like, I'm mad that this is my plan. I'll accept it. I will get there. I have accepted it, but I think being vulnerable in those moments of like really truly expressing all the emotions you're feeling is exactly what God wants from you. And it's a way to, I always feel like crying and praying and letting all of that out just does release that energy that you're holding on to. And in those moments, as hard as it was, like Isabel was always reminding me, turn to God, tell him your frustrations. It's okay. Just because there's people who have worse off injuries, because people are losing their loved ones or they're paralyzed and can't move, doesn't mean your injury isn't important and affecting your life. Like, doesn't mean yours doesn't hold value. Like, your challenges do hold weight, and that's okay. Just because they look different and aren't as bad as other people's doesn't mean they're not existent. And I feel like that is what helped me kind of just go to God, like, with open arms of like an honesty, and saying that, and being able to not feel like I was like keeping a secret from him in a way, if that like makes sense almost.
Yeah. No, I love that you brought that up, because I think this is the number one thing that really changed Kateri and I's relationship with God, and being able to surrender things like this. Because like Kateri said, surrendering it is the only way that you're going to get through it, and surrendering
Mm-hmm.
it looks really hard. Like, what does that even mean? But Kateri and I have found that honesty is the way to be able to give something over to God and like
Mm-hmm.
let him handle it. Because if you never tell God exactly what's on your mind, like how are you going to trust in him, right? That's like me saying to Kateri, like, make sure you bring down my podcast gear. But if I never tell her, how am I going to trust that she's bringing down my podcast gear? You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? It's like you have
Yeah.
to communicate, you have to build that foundation of vulnerability and trust so that you can surrender it. And I think
Mm-hmm.
Kateri just admitting all of these emotions and feelings, talking to God, I'm so mad I can't lift my heel, allowed her to just be like, I told God, God knows how I feel. He's gonna watch over me and he's gonna help me lift my heel. Like I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that's really how it helped your
Yeah.
journey.
No, 100%. And it's like, it wasn't perfect after that. I've definitely still had like so many bumps in the road, but I think it just opened my eyes, like you said, to that full surrender and realizing that surrender can just look like honesty, like being fully honest and saying it all to get it out on the table. Like that can be your form of surrender to God in whatever battles you're carrying. So that was like a big, I think, shift for me. And then another thing, which is why I think it's so important to find a physical therapist who is really going to back you. Like I said, I feel like people kind of sense that I was off that week. Obviously, my family, because they know me, you know, everyone calls me the sunshine of the family, and I was the polar opposite of sunshine. I felt like literal straight darkness. And that, like, going into that weekend, I remember I got an email at like 8 p.m. from Mike. And as soon as I
Her
saw the
physical
email,
therapist.
yeah, I think I've said his name, but I
Oh,
just,
okay.
yeah. So he sent me an email, and as soon as I saw the email come through, I'm like bawling my eyes out, and I'm at my boyfriend's apartment. I'm pretty sure it was his birthday, so like I'm just there, and I've already cried 4 times to him. So then it's like, you know, an hour later in the night, we're sitting on the couch, and I get the email, and I'm just bawling my eyes out again. He's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, Mike emailed me. He's like, "What? Like, what did he say? Like, did he like say something mean? Like, why are you crying like this?" But it
Dude,
was
girls
just,
are so funny. I
it was
love
like,
being a girl.
no, like literally hilarious. But he just sent me like such an uplifting email and reminded me of my progress and just reminded me of, you know, yes, the journey is long and we're, you know, nowhere near from being through it. But let's look back on like everything you have done. Let's not harp on what you're not doing. Like, let's recenter ourselves and focus, and kind of just gave me the pat on the back that I needed. And you know, he says those things to me in person, but when you're in a bad headspace in PT, it's kind of hard to hear anything someone's telling you. So, like, being able to read that email and even like turning back to that email when I need that uplifting thing was, it was truly like a game changer for me. Like,
Yeah.
I told him in person, I'm like, that was what I needed to kind of come into this week being like, no, yeah, I got this. Like, let me prove to Mike that I'm stronger than my mind too.
Yeah.
And, you know, as much as they're your physical therapist, they kind of become your mental therapist as well. Of course, they're not licensed in that approach, but you see them so much. Like now I'm, you know, I'm down to 2 times a week. When I first started, it was 3 times a week for at least 2 hours every time. Now it's 2 hours for 2 times a week. So 4 hours of my week are spent with this person, and they see it all. You know, they saw me at the beginning, they see me now, but they've seen my ups, they've seen my downs. So they really do spend all this time with you, and you know, they become like your friend and companion in it because they know what you're going through. Maybe they haven't been through it themselves, but they also have seen so many, you know, ACL patients to the point where like they do know, you know, like
Yeah.
on the scale of progress how you're doing. And again, I do love his approach to it and like his programming for getting me back to, you know, feeling stronger than I did before surgery. So yeah, it was just like in that moment that I was like, God had answered my prayers before I even knew by leading me to him and just reminded me of, you know, why I'm on this journey in the first place. So that's why it is so important to like find people that are going to be pushing you in the best way possible, because you need a team to lean on when you can't lean on yourself. Like, you
Yeah.
truly do. And I'm so grateful to be surrounded by a loving, supportive boyfriend who has uplifted me this entire journey. And same with my family, who has sister and a mom and dad, brothers who are just like constantly hyping me up in this and reminding me of how far I've come and being like, wow, you're so strong. Like, I update them on videos when I did deadlifts and I started jumping yesterday in PT. Like, I send them videos and everyone's like so excited. And just being able to like document that progress and being surrounded by people who support me, even like all the studios where I work, like everyone was so understanding and just like, you take however long you need. When you feel ready to come back, send us a text. We'll get you on the schedule. But do not feel the pressure. I don't care if it's 1 month or if it's 6 months. You come back when you're ready. And I just think having people in your corner really, really makes such a difference. And whether the only people you have maybe are like your physical therapist, maybe you don't have a lot of people around you, or whether it's just like, you know what, I have one person next to me who's really my biggest supporter. I think it's so important. And that can be said for any, struggle in life, any adversity, any challenges. You have to be able to turn to other people, because like I said, when you can't lean on yourself, when you can't trust your own intuition, your own thoughts, because your mind is literally playing tricks on you, where can you turn to? And I keep saying them, but like Isabel and my mom were kind of like my center of gravity for most of this too, because, I spend the most time with them as well, like living at home, us on the couch. Like, they're the people who I cry to, whether it's about my ACL or whether it's about anything, anything in life. They're who I turn to, and they helped kind of keep me at the center and, stay balanced in terms of like my mental health as well. And obviously I'm very grateful for that. And it still is not perfect. I'm still having my ups and downs. I cried Memorial Day weekend thinking about not being able to run with Isabel in the summer. And there's a run club in Cape May that we want to do. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that this summer, especially that distance. Maybe I could do it for a minute, but I don't know if I'm going to get to the point of being able to do it. Like, I don't know what that timeline looks for me right now. So there's still moments where I get really emotional, or if I like look back on my Sculpted Instagram account and I see other other videos that I've posted in the past, and like how much I could do, and just like my range of motion, or all these like amazing things. And I think about my programs that I haven't filmed in a while because I've just been off. Like, there's still moments where I get down, but I think going through the valley that I'm going through, that there's still ups and downs, but like the downs are really, I think, what makes me so much stronger. So that the next down doesn't feel, I don't stay there as long. Like at that 4-week mark, like that was the longest period. That lasted probably like 2 weeks of just feeling like really off, and I don't stay there as long. And I've said to Isabel, and I said it in the first recording of this, but I still feel off. Like, I still don't really feel like the sunshine of the family. I feel like this has kind of altered me altogether, because there's still bits of me that are just kind of in this like weird headspace, and I'm still working through that. And I don't really know what that's going to look like for me outside of this. But I also just remind myself, like, it's okay. It's all right if you're just a little bit quicker to anger right now. Like, I know you don't love it, but we'll figure it out. Like, it's not forever, and you know that you don't like this version of yourself all the time. So just give yourself the grace, because you are going through something that you've never experienced before, and that you're still angry about, and you wish wasn't happening to you no matter what. No matter if you surrender it, you're still going to wish it wasn't happening to you. Like,
I also just feel, it's not that I ever thought you were like a soft person, Kateri. It's not that. But like what you're saying about the sunshine of the family, like, we say that because Kateri is like the comedic relief in an extremely stressful moment. That's like a perfect example. Like, we'll be
I'm always cracking the jokes.
We'll be like at dinner discussing like something really stressful, and Kateri will like pop a joke, and we'll all start laughing, and it's like, we needed that. And I feel like Kateri has felt like she has been the down one, so she actually, she's needed the comedic relief. But I feel like this is such a part of your journey, because it needed to harden you a little bit, maybe in a way where we don't know what this next chapter is bringing, and you almost were that sunshine to everyone you met. And I'm not saying that's bad, but maybe God is preparing you for moments of like needing to be hard in certain situations and certain encounters as we start to do more business down here. Like, I don't know, I just feel like it's shaping you to change your personality to have a balance of both. And I know that right now it feels heavy on the hard, but 2 years from now, when this is like a distant memory, it's going to be a good balance of both.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And I think it just is building strength in other ways as well. Exactly like you said, that can be applied to like the business meetings or things that we're going through as we do grow, where I don't want to feel like just like this, like happy-go-lucky girl, like pushover type of effect, where I do want to be stronger.
Which you're not. which you're not a pushover girl. I always feel like Kateri thought she was such a pushover, and you've always been so strong. So if anything, I feel like this is just to show you, also maybe God bringing to your attention, like you do have that gritty side to you. You do have that side that can push through the extra round of reps. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like you've
Yeah.
always had that to you, and I feel like God is bringing it out of you and showing you like you're way stronger than you think. Because
Yeah.
you always used to say to me like, I don't feel like Kateri, maybe I shouldn't be outing you, but Kateri,
Go
you
ahead.
always used to come to me and be like, I feel like I don't think as deeply as you. Like, I'm not like that. I'm not wise like that. I'm not that. And I'm like, yes, you are. Like,
Just
you
in
are
different
so
ways.
wise. Yeah, just in different ways, but also like, this journey has brought out so many realizations for you. Like, I like being uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like, you have that aspect to you, and I've just seen it come out a lot more through this, and it's made me happy. Although you haven't been loving it, it's made me happy because I just knew that side was to you.
No, I mean 100%, and it's like that's how I'm choosing to see it too, because it's like I was saying, the things that I'm learning about myself, but also the level of gratitude that I now feel for this journey. If you had asked me at the 4 week mark if I felt this level of gratitude, I would like kind of laugh in your face. And now it's to the point where like not only am I just so grateful for my body itself and taking me and carrying me through this, like whoa, talk about being freaking elite. Like this is, my body's awesome, but also like not taking for granted just being able to like wake up and step out of my bed and like move my body, go on walks, be able to run again. Like I know that first run back, or like when I do start running again, or next time I'm skiing down the mountain, like I'm going to be even more grateful for my body and what it's doing. And you guys know, like that is my favorite thing to praise, is like how grateful I am for like a working body from head to toe. And it has just showed me and like given me even more appreciation for that. It's given me more appreciation for just the health of my entire family and being able to, have that support system. It gives me appreciation for all the people who, when I show up to class and I'm leading class, who trust me to lead them and guide them and correct their form and be able to like be that person that they can turn to. And people come to fitness classes to let out their frustrations or their worries and everything like that. And it's just like all these little areas in life that like you wouldn't think about. It does bring a whole new level of gratitude for me, and just in my relationship with God of, thanking him for all of these lessons that I am learning. And like you said, almost like putting to the test of like, am I really practicing what I'm preaching? Like we always talk about on here on the podcast, on everything Krause, really just using your failures or like the bumps in the roads as lessons. And it's like, well, when you're faced with that, how does that work? And being able to prove to myself, like you said, that like I can actually do that. Like I do view it as lessons. I do view this as like a massive learning thing in my life. It's, it's really, I'm grateful for it in that way, because it's like I'm proving to myself that I am who I think I am, and I am who I say I am. And I doesn't mean there's not areas to work on, and that this hasn't showed me areas that I maybe felt like a little weaker in and needed some more oomph behind it. But it's like awesome. Now,
Yeah.
next time I'm faced with like a big adversity, it's like, okay, I'll take it with a little bit more grace, probably because I've been through something hard and I know what it's like to be uncomfortable. And I feel like that is one of the biggest lessons. I know I keep saying it, but like being uncomfortable, or being comfortable with the being uncomfortable, is really, really important. And there's so many situations in life, between business and family relationships, personal relationships, where like life is uncomfortable. It feels weird. A conversation is uncomfortable and it's hard, but how can we push through it? And it's like,
Yeah.
literally happened yesterday. Like someone texted me about something and I'm like, oh, this is kind of uncomfortable, but literally I was like, okay, we're just going to handle it and get through it. And it's not that deep.
What?
I told you about it. So anyway, I know that a lot was said, and I know it was, kind of led like more to the mental aspects of it and like talking about this. Obviously, my journey is far from over, as Mike kindly reminded me last week. I am with him for quite some time, like at least 5 or 6 months. So I'm only at like the 2.5 month mark. So we got a good 3 months with him still. Which,
I will say the ACL injury, the recovery is really crazy to me. Like I saw a video the other day that was like, come recover with me 9 months post-op. And I was like, oh my God. I just was like, whoa, like 9 months, it's still a thing to be thinking of. Like, I need to be doing my PT. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
just feel like people have like a broken arm, they rehab, and it's like good after a month. Like the ACL, like you will be thinking about this. I know it's like, oh, like in a year it'll all be done. No, probably in a year you will still be doing something to prepare for running on the boardwalk at this
yeah,
time.
no, it's full on like a year type of, like 9 months to a year recovery, kind of depending. And obviously I'm not like returning to sport in a sense where I'm like cutting on a field or I'm on turf and things like that. But yeah, this is something that is honestly going to be with me for the rest of my life in a sense of like making sure I'm always rehabbing my knees and always making sure I'm, creating that bulletproof body, taking care of myself more, which was always something that I knew that I needed to do. So this is also a learning lesson in that of like, no, you need your rest days. You need your days where you spend 20 minutes on hip mobility and hip strength and all that stuff. Like I always kind of beat myself up about that. So maybe God was like, take care of your body or your body's going to break down quicker than you want it to. But yeah, it's a really, really long journey. And I think a lot of people don't know that, which how would they know? I didn't know until I got into it. So that's even like a weird part. I got back to teaching at studios this week and everyone just like thinks I'm okay and they don't see the giant massive brace on me anymore, so they're like, oh my god, like how are you feeling, like are you like good to go now? And I'm like, no, I can't do cardio in this class tonight. I can't even demo the cardio to you. Like I just got so happy yesterday because I did mini jumps. I got like 2 inches off the freaking floor. So it's still a journey. But like again, those people who ask me, they have no idea. They see me in person, they see me walking, I can demo a squat here and there and be okay. So totally understandable. Like it's just
so crazy.
wild.
I forgot to tell you, I saw someone walking home from the beach today with the ACL brace on. I almost said
my
something to him.
goodness.
I almost
Yeah.
asked like what week post-op he was in because he
Well, if
still
he's
had the brace on.
Yeah.
We're walking and he was walking with, but his walk he didn't have crutches. He was walking pretty good with his
Yeah.
wife, and he was like an old guy, and I was just like, man, like
He could have
I
been
just
wearing
thought,
the brace on the beach because of the instability of the sand too.
Yeah.
Or he could be, not cleared from it yet, which is crazy.
I was just like, I saw him. It's just like, I know what you're going through.
I know. And now it's like all I see is people tearing their ACLs and doing
Yeah.
this. And it is such a common injury, unfortunately, especially in young athletes. But yeah, it's now I like see people go through it, or like even on TikTok, like people will comment. It's like, oh, like I just had my surgery a week ago. Like, how did you progress that fast? Like, and I'm like, please don't look at my things as comparison, but feel free to chat me. And I'm like happy to like help you through any like
Yeah.
PT things or questions. But
You
it's
should
like,
honestly post this episode like a lot on Your Sculpted for any of those people.
Yeah, no, because I've gained followers from my ACL journeys, and like on TikTok, it's Sculpted with Kateri on TikTok. I've been posting a lot more like ACL stuff than I am Pilates stuff and things on there, and just like the community of ACL people is it's crazy. It's just so common, and I'm like, I just want to be able to like help people through it, but if they're not in surgery yet, if they don't know what to expect, like because I was that person who was like, what the heck do I expect? Like all these people are telling me I'm going to be in so much pain. Like, let me be real with you. Like, no, I didn't experience a lot, but like you could, because my
Yeah.
body's different from yours. You might not be getting the same surgery, like all this stuff. So yeah. So anyway, guys, that was like the full update for you. Obviously this journey is not over, but we are really only going up from here, and things are just slowly getting better. I'll let you guys know when I start to run. I'm sure you guys will see that on social media and everything like that. So I hope this episode, whether you're going through an injury, whether you're just going through a hardship in your life, can be, a little, guiding factor for you. As we always say, like if you ever want to reach out about anything, whether it's regarding this specific injury or just anything in general, adversity, challenges, Isabel and I are always so happy to have conversations with you guys, text us and DM us, things like that. We are here to be your friends through that. Like I said, having people around you that support you and that you can turn to are the most important in any hard situation in life. So if you need that from us, like we are happy to be that. And I just appreciate you guys, listening to this episode, joining me along this journey, being so supportive. Everyone, even on Everything Krause, has been so supportive and uplifting from my diagnosis till now. So I truly can't thank you guys enough for sticking by my side all through these months and everything, and checking in on me, and just, even wanting this update in the first place. So hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I know there's kind of like one last thing that Isabel will probably say is like a piece of advice, but I was trying to tee it up and it sucked.
Yeah, and I was like, yesterday's recording, I teed it up. But
So
another thing that you guys could do that would probably accelerate Kateri's recovery 10x would be to subscribe to this YouTube channel. She would be so happy. It would make her life. She would just have the best mindset.
It would make this recovery so much better.
It would, guys, I'm telling you, she'd be ready to run next week. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram at Everything Krause, at Sculpted with Kateri. That's where you'll see most of the ACL updates and ACL journey. And then at No Sugar Podcast, of course, like this video, comment on it, share it with a friend, share it with someone you know going through an injury, because even if you think they don't need this, I feel like Kateri can attest that they are thinking so many more negative thoughts than you may not even realize. There's a lot more going on beneath the surface. So share this with a friend who needs to hear it, and we appreciate your guys' support throughout all of this. And yeah.
Yes. So thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Sorry this episode dropped a little bit later, but we got it out there and that's all that matters. So thank you so much for listening. We hope you have a beautiful rest of your day, an amazing rest of your week, and we will see you next time.